I have to confess that I have no academic interest in philosophy, and I don't know anything academically. Neither have I known much of Jung till he died, and there was a report about him in one of the Indian journals. And I felt that there was a great soul who has gone away. Now you are all great scholars and great intellectuals, while I am a simple heart. And all that is simple is reality. Reality is not complicated. One must know is the most simple thing is reality. And the more simple we become, the easier it is for us to grasp the reality. Now to understand Jung's problem, I had no way out. I was not a student of psychology, but I caught hold of some dictionary to know what he was meaning by saying unconscious and collective unconscious and all these words. Then later on in London, I met a Jungian, an Indian boy, studied in Oxford and all that, and then he became a psychiatrist also. He did his MBBS and then he became a psychiatrist. Very clever, intelligent person. And I found that because he had an Indian background, he could integrate properly, and he related to me all the beautiful things about Jung. Of course, he also brought Dr. Adler to meet me, who got somehow cured of his trouble, I think. And Dr. Adler gave me a book as a present, which was so complicated. But he was a very nice man, I should say. And I found it difficult to explain to him, because first of all, there are certain presumptions in our mind and certain conditioning for which we must really thank Freud also, because he is the one who could see that we have conditionings. That's one point about him. But he also could not go too far with him, because he could one side of the human being, which he has described here, the left side. Now if you see the left side is there, as I've shown, is the power of your desire. And the power of desire, naturally, he felt comes from sex, because the last chakra, as you see, this red one, is the chakra called Muladhara chakra, is the center of Muladhara, and is the one that looks after the excretion. It deals with the pelvic plexus. Now, whatever I'm telling you today, you should listen to it with an open mind. That's one request I have to make as a scientist. And secondly, that it is a hypothesis which I am putting before you, as far as you are concerned. You need not take it for granted at all, but keep your mind open. And secondly, that point, that it is being proved now. Whatever Jung has said can be proved. Then you have to accept him as a person who knew quite a lot about self and about the collectivity. Now, you can see here very clearly that the one force that acts in us is the power of desire, left side. The right side one is the one that acts, the power of action. Now, in the center, can you see?
Which side is the left that you're...
Left is this side, is the blue, all right?
The left facing us.
Yes, left face.
So the right
no,
side.
yes, yes. Left of the gentleman was sitting there. All right. Yes, left side is the blue side. All right. This is the
left side.
This is the left side. Now the right side, you see, is the yellow colored one. Is the one that is the power of action within us. So now you may ask, what is Kundalini then? Kundalini is the pure desire. Now what is lacked in Freud's writing? Anything about purity. What is pure desire? You see, desire, like we want to have a house, is not pure because it doesn't give you full satisfaction. For example, if you even economic described that wants in general are not satiable. In particular, we think that, all right, I'll have a house, then you have a house, then you want to have a car, then you want to have a helicopter. God knows how it moves. So, any desire we have at human awareness is not pure desire. But this Kundalini is the pure desire. So the sense of purity, if it is missing, we cannot talk. Now this desire is put there, as you see, at the triangular bone. And this is there at 3.5 coils. Coils, so in Sanskrit is Kundala, that's why it is called Kundalini. Now this pure desire is kept in the bone called sacrum. Now it's very significant. Sacrum in Greek language means sacred. That means Greek people also knew about this, that there is sacred in it. So that part of sacredness and auspiciousness is also missing. Now you'll clearly see here, there are 3 compartments I have seen. One on the left, one on the right, and one in the center. So it is not placed one on top of another. This is another mistake. It is vertical. This is one big mistake, that these are vertical. So for your ascent you have got a clear message. This one point. Second point is that when you say unconscious, means whatever is not conscious, whatever is not felt on your central nervous system is unconscious. All right. But it's a very mixture box. I mean, everything mixed up together. But what is the purity about it? If you say that the left side, according to Sir Yoga, the left side represents the desire. Would say Freud, though he was not so clear-cut, his libido. And beyond that is the subconscious and the collective subconscious. So the subconscious is not unconscious. Subconscious is unconscious because of the language problem. It's a language problem. Unconscious is such a big word because it is not conscious on our central nervous system. But that's not what we are bothered about. Subconscious is on one side, on one side. All right. Now on the other side, if you see, what we call as the power of action is the futuristic thing. So this side lies the future. We have first the supraconscious area and then the collective supraconscious. See, the difference is that if you say these things are one top of another, we make a very big mistake. That means we have to rise to our unconscious. Of course, rising is also not there. For them is to go down. The rising is not described, but what I have seen a picture of it is that the unconscious is below, the unconscious which will never become conscious, then the unconscious, and then the subconscious, and then the ego. Is rather confusing. Now you see that here, that one is the subconscious and the collective subconscious, and one is the supraconscious and the collective supraconscious. Now the top thing there where you see these petals and all these things, is a lotus, is the super consciousness. That is the evolutionary ascent we have to achieve, is to become conscious of the super consciousness, which is really the collective consciousness. Now this has 2 aspects. To say Patanjali did not say about Kundalini, because at the time of it was kept a secret, but he did write about after the ascent what happens very clearly. So the representation of the motherhood is here. This Kundalini is the mother, which you could see. And the father. Father is the one who rests on top of your head. So that is super consciousness. You have to become one with the whole. So that means you are aware of yourself as I becomes the whole. This has to happen. what is called as the second birth. Now you might say that why Moses didn't talk about it, or Abraham didn't talk about it. Because their job was, you see, they are all connected with each other, only we are fighting. They are not. We are all together. But the trouble is, when people do not have eyes to see, the elephant is just a tail, or somebody might say that it's just a leg. But they are all one together. But this integration only takes place after you have got realization to understand that they say the same thing, they have done the same job. In a living process of a seed, you can see first the seed becomes the trunk. It has to become the trunk. That doesn't mean trunk is less important than the flower. So this is the trunk, we can call it here. All these great prophets like Moses and Abraham and all those people were born here to establish the sustenance within us. It started from also in India. We had people, Janaka, Nanaka, and the end was the Shirdi Sainath. There were 10 main incarnations of these people who came in this part, and they reside within us to give us the religion. Now the religion we talk of is outside religion, is myth, is mythical. But religion is like a valency. As we have a valency for carbon, 4 valencies, in the same way human beings have 10 valencies. And that's how we have got 10 commandments. And these 10 commandments relate to our 10 valencies within us, and that's why they do. That you maintain the balance. Because if you go too much to this side, then you go to the left side, then you fall a prey to subconscious, to collective subconscious. Too much to this side, you fall into the supraconscious and to the collective supraconscious. That's why the balance has to be maintained. Any vehicle which has to ascend, like say an aeroplane, if it is not in balance, it cannot ascend. To ascend, one has to maintain the balance, and that's why the religion, which is nothing but consciousness regulated by superconsciousness. Because these people came, according to us, they were nations of the primordial master. They didn't say so, because to say this is very dangerous. Anybody says, I am the incarnation of the primordial master, immediately either they'll poison you or they'll hang you by the nearest tree. You see, that's what has been. I mean, nobody wants to listen to anyone who says something sensible or truthful. We have been doing that throughout, and of course you cannot crucify me this time. But there are lots of problems I face because I tell the truth. And the truth is, all of them who were born at this stage within us are looking after our religion, means our valencies, means our sustenance by which we are human beings. If we go beyond this, that side or this side, then we become either subnormal or abnormal. Now the subnormal people are the ones who go to the left side. Now, I would like to say that another mistake was committed because of the idea of this unconscious. That way, the findings of the Indian seers, because in India there is nothing like religion, it's just a seeking, a true seeking of a person. He is neither a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, those who are seers. You see, they say there is no caste for a seer. A person who is a seer has no caste, he has no religion, he is nothing, because he is a human being. He doesn't belong to any conditioning of the kind, but to the truth itself. So they found out through meditative method, not through reading, through mental projections, or through imaginations or anything, but through meditative method. First they had to become realized souls. Like in Patanjali, as she said it, it's not written clearly, but he said first you have to have Ishvara Pranidhan. Means you must get your realization first. The God must be established within you. Before that, anything else you do is just artificial. For example, now, this thing they have put for me to speak. Supposing it was not connected to the mains, it would not work. It's a very simple thing, again I say. Any machinery, this one, if it is not put to the mains, it doesn't work. In the same way, human beings who are not connected to the mains, if they start working out, they either go to the left or to the right. Now also we'll see very clearly, medically we can see this, what happens. That we have an autonomous nervous system within us. If you ask the doctors who is this auto, they don't know. They just say auto, works by itself. Who is the auto, they cannot say. But in the autonomous nervous, you see, branding is the way people just shut you out. You don't know what to say, that you are autonomous nervous system. Now you ask them, who is auto? Because I did medicine, I was surprised the way they were going about with all this blindness. Doesn't matter. This autonomous nervous system has got two groups of nervous system. One is sympathetic, another is parasympathetic. Now the sympathetic nervous system, though they call it autonomous, but it is our control. Because in sympathetic nervous system, in any emergency, it comes into play. Like supposing I'm frightened, then I start running. Then when I start running, the sympathetic goes into action. And when sympathetic goes into action, the parasympathetic brings it back to the normal. Means, supposing you are running very fast, your heart starts pulsating very fast, but then it comes to normal by the action of the parasympathetic. So we have left and right sympathetic nervous system. Both can be activated by our own emergency created by us. Now see, the left and right, according to the doctors, is all just the same. For them it's quite a blind alley. So parasympathetic, they don't want to talk. They're honest people, so they don't want to talk parasympathetic. But sympathetic also, what they understand is that the left and right are just the same, but it is not so. Left looks after the desires, as you say, the emotional side, the conditioning side, and also the subconscious, because it creates the subconscious within us. The present subconscious is created by this nadi or the channel. Now the right side one, as I told you, is for the action. It creates the supraconscious side. Means a person is a very, very futuristic person. I mean, Americans are very futuristic and very speedy people. So what happens, they start moving to the right. Too much of action, very speedy, very fast. You see, everything is for the future. I mean, you are sitting here and maybe we are thinking of tomorrow, what am I going to cook, sort of thing. So this is what happens to us when we start thinking about the future. And then we create a realm as the present supraconscious within us. But beyond that lies the realm called as the collective supra. So as I told you, there is collective supraconscious and collective subconscious and a collective superconsciousness. Then we have another collective health, we can call it. So we have 4 types of collective consciousness. But it is not conscious in our central nervous system. That's why we call it unconscious. It's a general name given. English language, unconscious, which is general name. Actually, we have 4 types of unconscious, and all of them are collective. Now what happens to the collective subconscious? Collective subconscious is the area where all that is dead since our creation resides. All that is dead resides in that area. Recently I saw a very interesting documentary on cancer cure or cancer. Some doctors, a very good report, saying that if the body is vulnerable for cancer, according to Sahaj Yoga, when you are too much in a sympathetic activity, then you are vulnerable for cancer. Then an attack comes to you from the area which is built since our creation. They are very near us. And they call that as, the name is given again as protein 58. You can call him the street number 68 as well, call it anything. So they call it protein 58 and protein 52. That's what I gathered in that thing, they call it like that. But now what are these things that trigger? They are the ones who trigger cancer. This is one point we have to find out. What happens if you go to the collective subconscious? Because of this complete jumble of 4 collective consciousness, we can say, because of not understanding, these are 4 areas kept like this separately, that way, this way, and downward and upward, absolutely nicely compartmented. The problem came that they thought that we have to go into these areas first to understand about the depth of our being. Now, as you see, there's a clear-cut path in the center here, according to Sahaja Yoga. And the another thing is Sahaja Yoga does it. It works out. It's an actualization. It is not just talking or theories. Actually, you can see the Kundalini pulsating in the triangular bone, not in everyone, but on the people who have some problems on the Nabhi chakra, this center or that center. If there is an obstruction, then the Kundalini really pulsates, and you can see with your naked eye. We have some of the photographs taken by that, but we cannot say that definitely in this person it will pulsate like that. With a stethoscope, you can feel the pulsation rising, and when you bring it to the top of your head, you can feel the pulsation rising here. And when it stops, you will feel the cool breeze coming out of your head, actually cool breeze. This is actualization. Now what happens actually is that this Kundalini is the one who is the mother principle within us, reflected as the primordial mother. It was so great and courageous of Jung to talk about this when Freud was so much accepted by everyone. Even now in London there are only 12 Jungians. You'll be surprised. I'm so happy to see so many of you are here. So he is the one who very courageously put forward this idea that there is the mother's force within us, which is a fact and which can be proved. If you see historically now, at the time Moses and Abraham, you see Moses crossing the bridge, you see, this is significant here. This is the void, we call it the void, but then for them void is different. So we cross this. In the same way Moses crossed through the bridging, he did. And this bridging takes place when the Kundalini rises from that triangular bone and crosses over, then the first bridging takes place. Now one may ask a question then why did they think like that? Why is it they did not have the right idea about it? Why these mistakes were created? If there were realized souls, no doubt they were realized souls. But here the problem was in this country, all these Western countries, is that it's a very individual effort of a person. And traditionally it was not known so much about it. Though Christ has openly said that you are to be born again and that a transformation must take place. But then again we started an artificial type of a baptism, that you put some hand on somebody's head, anybody putting hand and say, now you're baptized. But there are people like Blake who said, a priest cursed on my head. He said so. So the thing is that because it is not a knowledge of the ancient times in the Western areas, people took an individual probing. Naturally, whatever they found out was not supported, something was supported by their experiences, whatever he had from the dreams and all that, so he established it. But another problem is, a person who suddenly, through spontaneity only, through Kundalini awakening only, jumps on the stage, then he starts seeking about the stage, about the framework, how it is made, how it is done. But because it is an individual approach, it is very linear. It's not going from one point to many points, but is linear. For example, he would go on this point to find out, then on to that point to find out, and then on to that point. But supposing somebody who knows about the framework and also about the stage can tell you about everything, and that is what is needed today. Historically, it was, I would say, the dharma, the religion was established historically for our consciousness. Everybody has contributed. Then further on to this point where another center is very important. These are all the milestones of our evolution, milestones. At this point, the advent of the motherhood came just to protect, for protection. Because that time the ascent was not so much needed, but the protection of the seekers. And she came as the mother of the seekers to protect them from evil forces. Now the evil forces from the left and from the right. The left side people also are sly, those who invade, those who torture are what you call the masochists sort of people, and the right side as the sadist people. Then when they die also, they do not leave their habits, and they then possess people and try to torture. For example, Hitler used lamas for this, and he got the supraconscious ideas from them. Lamas are known for their supraconscious ideas, that they can tell you where the lama is going to be born and where such and such person, all the futuristic things. And he had a training with them, and they went down there, some of the people went and told him how to use the supraconscious spirits to impress or to possess the Germans. And he managed that very well. Because of that, they lost their consciousness. They didn't know what they were doing. In possession, one doesn't know what he's doing. That's how these possessed people did such work that even animals cannot do, worse than animals. Without any sense of shame, without any sense of decency, without any sense of love or compassion. So the whole development came up like that, and surprisingly, they also called it as a fatherland. Fatherland, the right-sided manifestation, you can say, the manifestation of the action. So that's how we grew up with our action, developing our ego. As she told you, first we had just the part which was the pituitary within us at an animal stage, but then pituitary was pushed down, our ego came up. As the action took place on the right-hand side, we developed this yellow stuff, you see. It's like the bile color, and all these people have bile trouble and liver trouble. Those who are overactive are aggressive people, and they tend to aggress. Now the problem was that India was dominated for 300 years by English people. And the seers and all were ridiculed and laughed at. Nobody even bothered to look at them. So they disappeared into their caves and disappeared into places where they could not be located. It was such an aggression of ego on them. And later on they made our people to learn more about science, learn more about their culture and their achievements. They placed so much on the Indian people that we took to your styles. All these seers got lost. From 14,000 years back, you'll be surprised, there was a great seer called Markandeya, who has written all about Kundalini, about the ascent of the Kundalini and everything. There was a great astrologer, I should say he was the person who started astrology in India about 16 or 17,000 years back. You cannot really say when he started it. He wrote one book called Bhrugu Sangita, but before writing that, he wrote another one called Nadi. Of course, this is written on the lotus leaves. And this voluminous thing was later on completely depicted and brought to up-to-date level by another person about 300 years back, whose name was Bhagwandar. Can you imagine that this man, thousands of years back, predicted clearly that the Sahaja will start in 1970. And that in that way, the Kundalini will rise spontaneously and people will get their realization. Because for an Indian, I'm not the westernized, but a real Indian, the highest goal in life is to get self-realization. When my grandchild was born, you see, her horoscope was cast. And when the horoscope was cast, they sent a telegram from my family, the astrologers. The great thing, her guru is in her own family. She's a born realized. But they said, but for them this was the greatest to send a telegram to us saying it's the greatest thing that she has her guru in her family so that she can get her realization. So this is what it is. The whole attention of the people in India should be, if they follow their traditions, is to get self-realization. But as the Western people impressed them so much, you see, so much of impression came from them. We had to learn about your sciences, your all these things, and not easy to talk to Indian doctors about how parasympathetic, if it is mastered, you can cure any disease whatsoever, because they learn only from you. Now, even if some people want to talk, what happens that they think we are sort of challenging their ego. But the problem is, even about religion or God, one cannot. In the meanwhile, I'm very happy that Jung had warned about India. That was a very big thing he said. Because Jung came to know about India through people, some German writers who went to India. Now their main interest is to find support of the Freudian theory, that what is sex, this thing, that thing, only that. Even you will be surprised, Japanese have the same interest about India. They want to come and see what is Tantrism and how these erotic things are there, and they take zoom lenses, you see, go up into very hazardous way on top of the these old temples to take a photograph of erotic things. This is surprising for us. We never say these things while they are doing it. Because when in the 6th century, after the advent of Adi Shankaracharya, who also propounded that it is the Kundalini who has to be awakened, and unless and until you get your realization, you are nowhere near religion. These people came up just to attack, the negative attack. And all of them formed a very big belt, starting from going round through the middle of India, going towards Gujarat. And there they propounded that it is through sex you can achieve your realization. Because that was the only way they could make some money out of it also, by helping the very licentious and permissive rulers in those days, by telling them that the sex is the way you can achieve money. Now here you can see very clear that the center which is supporting or which looks after the sex activities below the Kundalini. In Sanskrit also it is written Shata Chakra Bheja. Means six centers have to be broken, pierced. Shata Chakra, 6, not the 7. But these people said that this is the Kundalini is in this center which looks after the sex. Now I, as a mother, I don't want to condemn them so much, so I may be a mistake also. Because here resides a deity, a symbol as you call it, which has got the head of an elephant, because elephant is the wisest animal, and the head of an animal signifies that such a person never gets ego. It's the human beings only, the human animal only gets the ego part of it. So to suggest that it's the pituitary only active, and that it is to represent the innocence in us, this symbol they must have seen, but not the whole of it, must have seen a part of that trunk, and they must have thought that this must be the Kundalini. So to give them a full benefit of the doubt, I would say like that, but people took too much advantage of it. So they started big competitions, that those people who can produce such erotic art and all that will be given so much money, and this can happen, that can happen. Artists would not take to it. So they gave them a lot of temptations that so they should accept. Like in Nepal, they gave another temptation by saying that supposing, you see, if you make the temples out of the wood, they can be destroyed. But the virgin, who is the, according to Indian mythology, is the thunderbolt. And the thunderbolt, if you want to keep it out, better make things that she won't come near them. Just to make it repulsive, they made it. They gave all kinds of arguments. Like they told the ministers, you see, were very austere people, and they wanted to have their own temples. So they told the king, all right, to please you, we'll have some licentious thing outside, but inside we'll keep very pure, because that is life, that is fertility, this and that. All kinds of stories and theories they made up just to create this kind of a new cult there. Now what happens? Why they did it is a very important point. One should know why these people tried to bring down divinity, purity to that level. The reason was that when you start insulting divinity or purity, then that area becomes absolutely hollow. When the purity is removed, then you can do whatever you like in that area. You can get possessions there, you can get all kinds of spirits there, you can do all kinds of witchcraft and all those things. Somehow or other create an area where divinity doesn't want to go. This was the principle. And that's what exactly they used to create an area of this kind. Like there's a very great temple in India called Kamakhya Devi's temple, and all these tantrikas went there and tried to do that, like having sex relationship in the temples and things like that, and by that they saw to it that whatever is divine that is showing there should be removed. All the negativity could be brought. Now, in the 10 Commandments, it is said, whatever is created by the Mother Earth should not be reproduced and should not be worshipped. Now, we should find out what is created by Mother Earth. This point we miss. Whatever is created by Mother Earth, that Mother Earth herself has produced something different. Now, in India, people know about it, that it is so. I went to a place called Musalwadi in a village, because I work more in the villages. And there they told me a story that, Mother, there's a place here where an Englishman came about 100 years back, an engineer, and he tried to build a bund for creating a nice tank there. And what happened that at a particular point, about 20, 30 meters, he could not build it. Whenever he tried to build it, next day it used to be finished off. So he was quite surprised, and he's written down in his own diary and all that. They have published the diary also. He had to make a bund like this and go around and then make it further. So I wanted to go and see the place. And when I saw the place, I knew this is something created by the Mother Earth. Now, how do you know it is created by the Mother Earth is the point which I'll come later on. So there are places created by the Mother Earth already to vibrate the divinity, the purity, the whole expression of her compassion and love for human beings. But unless and until you are a realized soul, you cannot feel them and understand them. Only a realized soul can feel them and understand them. For example, Stonehenge. I went there. Stonehenge is the same stuff. But the problem with them is that the people who are druids, who are doing all this worship, don't know what it is. They don't know how to use it. So in this way, the Mother Earth has also created so many such places have come out of the Mother Earth, and they are there. In India, there are many places like that. In Maharashtra, we are Ashtavinayak, 8 of the symbols of the innocence deity, as you say. Now, because people are not realized souls, one cannot talk to them. Because if I say that is the thing, how will you know? So when the Kundalini ascends through the center, you see that subject is so great that even if I give 1,000 letters, I cannot cover it. So the thing is, I'll try to cover every bit here and there. When the Kundalini ascends, I told you the cool breeze starts coming out of your head. So what happens to you? For the first time, you feel the cool breeze of the Holy Ghost. Now, some may deny Christ. That was wrong to deny Christ. I must tell you very frankly. It's a conditioning again. It's a conditioning to deny Him. Because, you see, by denial, what you have done, you have denied an incarnation who came at that point. But the way they have made out of Christ, naturally anybody, the way they made Him an incarnation, anybody would deny. When I got my birth, I mean, I should say I got it because I deliberately got born into a family which was a Protestant Christian, because they are the most sophisticated fanatics. Absolutely, because it's such a rational thing they have made out of Christ that I thought this is the place I should, so that I'll be able to tell them that this is not Christianity, this is not Christ. So the way they made Christ, naturally people denied Him. But He is the one who has suffered for us. Definitely. So there is no suffering needed for us at all. If you ask for suffering, you will suffer. Only thing, He is to be awakened here. Now, if I say about Christ or anyone, it should not be taken for granted at all. No, take it for granted. What happens when the Kundalini rises? Say it is here in the stomach. Many people who have been to wrong gurus, who have been following wrong things, or those who think I am the guru, I know how to do it, and I am the one who has done it, they have to take the name of Moses. Unless and until you take his name, it won't rise. Kundalini won't rise. Now, when it reaches this point, you have to take the name of Christ. Here, take the name of Muhammad. Who was Muhammad? Nobody else but Moses. Moses himself was born. You will be surprised that Islamic people today are following Shariat. What is Shariat? If you have read Bible, it's the same as written for the Jews. Same thing they are following. What is written in the Bible, they are following. We are not following it, but they are following. Which was said because when Moses came back, he found these people in such a big mess and such a big hell that he had to make a very, very strict law to pull them out of that hell. And that's why he gave such strict laws. Actually, if you have read the books of Essenes, I was surprised that many people who have read it showed it to me that they really clearly said that the laws were not so strong. But Moses had to make them so strong because people were absolutely hellish and they were going down so rapidly that he made those laws. But surprisingly, they are more followed by the Muslims and even people. Now, if you want to know that what you are, say a Muslim wants to know about himself, he should go and ask a Jew. And if you want to know about the Jew, you should go and ask a Christian. And if you want to know about a Christian, you can ask an Indian. So it is the opinion of others will correct your conditioning in the mind because you are born in one religion. It's a conditioning. It's absolute conditioning, and this is the worst conditioning that people have. Then how the truth? If you are conditioned, you can never accept truth. And that's why the Indian fake gurus have done one. You see, they are very clever, cunning, absolutely cunningness personified. They all came down here first with the idea, we don't talk about religion, finished. So they suit us very well. If they don't talk about religion, about God, then they are the best because it doesn't come in conflict with our conditioning that we have. So talk about flying in the air, for which people have paid 6,000 pounds each for flying in the air. I am the one in 1970. I openly took their names and denounced them and told the people who they were in previous lives. And that time, you see, so many of my disciples started shaking. They said, Mother, what are you doing? They are going to kill you. I said, let them try. Try their level best. So these fake gurus came here, started the cult and started all kinds of these things. First of all, don't talk of God. And if you talk of God, then just make the person such a slave that he cannot get out. They use the supraconscious or they use the left-sided subconscious. And that's how they have attacked your people. Now the people who have no idea as to what should happen, they think we have to go through this suffering. There is no need to go through the suffering at all. And Christ has gone for you. There is no need for you to go through any suffering anymore. Just you have to awaken Christ within you. Just count your blessings one by one. It's a very cheerful thing. It's not such a serious stuff, you see. Like in Paris, I went, they said, Mother, never say you are the happiest person. I said, why? I am in joy completely. He said, no, you must say you're very serious and that you are suffering very much. I said, I'm not. How can I tell them? You must say you have to suffer. I said, why? He said, because in here everybody believes that we all have to suffer. Les miserables. See, I said, all right, these les miserables are sitting on the streets of Paris, drunk completely, and prostitutes at every lamppost are the les miserables. They are the ones who have created their miseries like this. This is how our mental projection has taken us to this kind of a hell from which to come out Galini and hell. Now, this is the mother's thing. So we can say that first is the father's manifestation came, then the Son. Now the Holy Ghost has to come. Now, Christianity is another absurd thing. They teach that there is the Father and the Son and a Holy Ghost, but not the Mother. How can you have a son and a father without a mother? Can you? It is absurd, but all intelligent people accept it and seriously talk about it. And it is a mystery. Don't talk about Holy Ghost. It's a mystery. Because to say that mother has a part to play is too much for them. Because in Christian religion, so-called, they don't have any place for the women to become the priest or anything. My father was a great learned man. He was a master of 14 languages and he translated Quran-e-Sharif into Hindi in a very learned. I should say he's the one who told me about human beings and how their permutations and combinations work. And I asked him, this Martin Luther, who was a realized soul, put away the mother's position that way. He said that time, you see, we call it Samayachar. According to timing, the Muslims were very powerful. And he said that if he talks of the mother, he'll be hit hard. So he took a course where he said she's the one who is there, who gave the birth to the child and all that. But he wouldn't call her as a primordial thing or a primordial power. But the truth has to show it. So in recent times, we have seen how the women have become very conscious of themselves. Of course, they're absolutely misled. Absolutely misled. Because they think if they become like men, then they solve the problem. It's not true. It's a pendulum. You see, you move like a woman to a man, man to a woman. It's a pendulous movement. What you have to do is to rise in a spiral way. Otherwise, evolution is not there. Evolution is the spiral movement. It's not shown here how the Kundalini, but maybe later on I may be able to tell you in details how the movement of the Kundalini takes place and how the spiral movement of the consciousness has taken place so far. In the same way, the spiral movement has to take place, that in your evolutionary process you must come above the man and the woman part of it. So this is completely misled business that will dominate the men. And when I say this, many ladies left, you see, the hall. They were very angry with me that I was saying so fact. And a woman is the mother. She is in a way higher than man, I think. She is the mother, she has to nourish. She is here for nourishment. So the new awareness has to be that of nourishment, of compassion and love. For example, in the olden days for us, Napoleon was a greater hero. And now if you call any Frenchman a Napoleon, he'll hit you back. He can't stand it because according to him, he was very egoistic. So who is the hero today? Somebody like King, like Mahatma Gandhi, somebody who is the manifestation of the womanly qualities, of the mother's qualities of compassion, love, of nourishment of this Mother Earth. Now very interesting it is to see that this Kundalini is the one which is called as the Kumbha in Sanskrit language, means the Aquarius. You call it Aquarius as one of the signs and is the same as Kumbha in Sanskrit language. So it is the age of the Aquarius, is the age of the Kundalini. Secondly is the age of the Kundalini which will nourish, which is the mother within you, which will rise, will give you the completeness of it and which will connect you with your spirit, which ultimately gives you the enlightenment by which you become collectively conscious. You become, again I say it's not just telling stories, you just become. Today we had a lady, I came a little earlier, she came to see and apologize that mother, I went to Muktanand and I got very badly hurt and I have a terrible pain and I have to get up every moment and I hope you won't. I said, all right, you come up, I'll cure you. She came up, she's better now, but only thing her Kundalini rose and she felt the cool breeze coming out of her head and she felt the cool breeze coming out of her hands. Now what is this cool breeze that is coming out of your hand? For the first time, you feel the subtle all-pervading power about which everyone has talked. Ruh, as they call it. They call it as the Brahma Tattva. They call it by various names, all-pervading power of God's love. So we come back to the origin that first the God Almighty, the Father, and Mother is His power. And He is the spectator and she is the player. That's how it works. And the Son is created to lead the people through this problem of ego and superego, because it is so much tight that someone of a very great nature had to have the resurrection as a drama. Now Christ actually is described in Indian scriptures, but Christians won't go beyond Bible. They cannot. They're so bound. They will not go beyond Bible. To see, to them Bible is the last and the first and everything. It's surprising. In everything they cross limits, but in understanding, you must go to other scriptures. That's why I really respect and appreciate Jung. He went out of the way to find out about everything with a very open scientific mind. Now, in the Indian scripture, in the Devi Mahatmya, where they have described the goddess, they have very clearly described Christ, absolutely all his life, but he is called as Mahavishnu. Vishnu is the deity at this point which is responsible for our evolution. But he is a Mahavishnu called. And his description, if you read to the last bit of it, is so great, and is the incarnation of the same innocence born on this earth. It's so clearly described. Why do we have an egg for Easter? Egg represents a human being who has not got realization as yet. Because egg has to become the bird. And in Sanskrit language, a realized soul is called as Dvijaha, born again, twice born. But in America, I came in 1973. Of course, I was a big failure because they told me, mother, without money, nobody is going to listen to you. You must charge some money. They cannot understand anything that had by without money. I said, but how much are you going to pay? It's invaluable. You cannot pay for this realization. It is your right to have this, and you will have it. And how can I take money for it? So I was a big failure, but many people came here. But out of that came out a cult called Twice Born. And one of them walked up to me with a Bible in her hand to hit me in one of the programs. And everybody got upset, but I was just laughing, and we have a big film about it. But look at this one, the twice born walking with a Bible just to hit me. To use Bible to hit, I mean, I've never heard that. I had heard that people used to walk with a Bible and a gun in another hand. But the Bible to be used as a gun was the first time I saw such a fantastic thing. So it can happen. You see, the people get so much possessed by the ideas and by the conditioning that they can go to any limit of accepting something as truthful without finding out what did I achieve or what did my forefather achieve out of it. Why not the Christians or Jews or anyone find out what did they achieve? Now they will say it is postponed for say 10,000 years. Why? Supposing I say to anyone, there's a diamond available for you here just now. Will you wait? I tell you, people from Australia will come down. But if I say your realization just there, you must understand that all systems and all that we work out comes from the unconscious, which is God Almighty. And us, He has worked out the system so beautifully, so delicately. Did you become a human being by any effort? From an amoeba stage, He has made you a human being without giving you any trouble whatsoever. What trouble did you take? What did you do? Did you stand on your head or did you pay for it? You just got it spontaneously. So if you believe in that force that is there of compassion and love, why should you not believe that if you have to get your realization, it will work spontaneously? It has to work out spontaneously. So this mother force that is there, the age of the Aquarius as you call it, this has to come up and nourish you. And it does. It has worked out wonders in India, because Indian villages are still very simple, thank God. They are not educated, they are not complicated, they just start feeling the cool breeze and enjoying it, that's all. They give up all habits, they give up all wrong ideas, they are all customs of caste and all those things they give up, and they become extremely joyous. But that's not the end of it. When you get your realization, your material problems are solved, surprisingly. Even material problems are solved, but to that extent that you do not become Mr. Ford to have a headache, but you become a person who is satisfied, and you get a balanced amount of comfort and a balanced amount of living. Actually, you'll be surprised that comfort is also a myth. Because, see, look at me. For me, I don't know what is comfort is. I don't understand. Why should people worry so much about comfort? If you make me sleep on the street, I'll sleep like a log of wood. If you make me sleep in a palace, I'll be there. After all, you don't carry anything with you at all. I mean, nothing sticks to you, does it? I mean, once you have to sleep, you just sleep on. Now, another point I would like to point out from Jung's point of view, that he took to dreams as one of the very big experimental, truthful manifestation of the unconscious. But how do you get dreams? Let's see. The dreams come to you from the Kundalini itself, in a way. So what happens, the Kundalini is not connected on the central path, but it is the record, is all our past, all our record is in there, like a tape recorder has a tape, it is there. And what happens that when you go very deep into Sushupti is the stage they call it, very deep into you, then the symbolism comes through that down below and passes blue line into your brain. And that's how you start seeing the dreams. But when you are passing through that, you see you pass through your all subconscious area. So the dreams get distorted, they get a funny symbolism. Sometimes you don't understand what's happening. It becomes a sort of a mixed up expression, and on that to depend may not be so much good. Instead of that, we must get the reality. The reality that you become collectively conscious and you develop this vibratory awareness by which you can feel the all-pervading power. But this is just what you get as far as your conscious mind is concerned, as far as your central nervous system is concerned. But actually, what does it do? Is the point. When it happens, what happens? First of all, when the Kundalini rises above this center, the Agya chakra, then the suction takes place of the super. So the space is created. Actually, you can feel the soft bone like a child when it comes out. Actually, you can see it. First of all, the eyes dilate, and then it comes out from here, and you start feeling the cool breeze actually here coming out. Now, this is what you feel, but it acts in this way that these vibrations are the vital forces, we can say, not libido only, but all these things mixed together, which are in pure form, which are for your hit, means which is for good for your spirit, we can say that. And when you want to give vibrations to someone like that with your hand, at the most, the person can be cured. You can cure a cancer patient. Now, there's one gentleman who has come here. Luckily, I mean, it's all sahaja, again I say spontaneous, that I met him. He was a person suffering from angina. A very serious type of thing had happened, because they said he has to go to Houston, and he had booked his seats, everything. He was about to, and then he came to Delhi just to meet his friends, because he thought maybe something might happen, so it's better to go and see them. And there they had a Rotarians, you see, they called me for a lecture. And I was speaking, there must be a lot of people there. And he came out with a question that, what about the heart? I said, heart is completely under control with Sahaja Yoga. So he found it very difficult to find me out in Pune, but he just came to me. And I think I must have treated him for about 10-15 minutes. And I said, now you're all right. But first he had a big, we can say, convulsion sort of a thing, because the force was there. And then suddenly he got rid of it, and he's perfectly all right. He's normal. He went back to the doctors, and they said, this is not your X-ray, these are not your reports, this is something different. And luckily this gentleman happens to be here in America. But this is only one of the cases. I would say that luckily it so happened that Sahaja Yoga has cured people like, we can say, the President of India, who was suffering, who came here for an operation for his the lungs. And when he was going, I just went to see him, because my husband knew him very well. And the High Commissioner just said that, do you know, she's such and such, but also she's Mataji Nirmala Devi. And I'm known in India for this kind of things. So the wife of the President said that, Mother, please cure my husband. And he was very much suffering. He could not sleep, and people were worried that he may not survive up to Delhi's airport. When I treated him for 10-15 minutes only, well, now I'm feeling relaxed, I'm going to sleep. And next day when they reached Delhi, he walked down and everybody was surprised. They had taken as stretcher, this thing, and he told me after that he went straight for a tour. And he then, later on, his wife showed me that even the mark of his operation has disappeared. So you can write to him and find out about it if you want to find, but it's nothing important, because just a byproduct. So I must warn you that I'm not here to cure anyone or to do anything, but if the Kundalini rises, she nourishes. It's your own. It's your own spirit, it works through it. Now what am I doing here? People might say, then why you? I mean, it's a very common question in the all Western countries, then why of all the persons you should do it? I said, you better do it. I'll be very happy. I would like to retire with my husband, with my grandchildren. But the thing is, if I have to do it, what can I do about it? I mean, say you are intellectuals, I'm not. You can drive a car, I cannot operate a bank, I cannot do many things. Supposing I know how to do Kundalini, why should you feel so hurt about it? And it's a thankless job. You have to work really 24 hours job it is, you see, and everybody wants to gain out of it. So I don't understand that why should the ego come in between? But doesn't matter. I'm like a bank. I have to just cash your checks. That's all I'm here for. I have nothing to gain out of it. In the sense that I feel very joyous when people get their realization, and if there's really get their own, because this is your own thing. It's within you. It is nothing to be paid for, nothing to be just within you. But supposing one person gets it, he can give it to others also. Like one candle which is not enlightened can be enlightened by another enlightened candle. Now this candle doesn't do anything except that it enlightens that candle, and that candle has to be enlightened another candle. It is as simple as that. It's nothing very serious. You don't have to go into the, she told me, I was really thinking Jungian, so how will I address them? You see, they're already moving like that, like that. I'm such a simple person, how will I tell them what I have to tell them? But it is such a simple thing, I tell you. It's even simpler than cooking. So one should not think that God could have made anything very complicated. See, we breathe without even reading a book. Supposing we have to read a book and then breathe, how many of us would survive? It's as simple as that. Now, if you have to evolve, if God has created this universe, and if He gave His universe and His creation, He has to jolly well do something about it. If He has made us like this, He has to give us realization too. And it is so surprising that I find it is working out. Of course, we cannot have 50 million disciples like that as these fake gurus had, because to create a plastic flower is very easy. You just give somebody a name, go on repeating this name. Now they give a name, repeat the name of Rama. Now there is no connection, you go on sing on your sympathetic nervous system. Now Rama could be a servant dead somewhere, he just enters into it and you start jumping. You start jumping like a frog. Some people came to my program, they are jumping like a frog. So I said, why are you jumping like a frog? They said, our guru said, if the kundalini rises, then you jump like a frog. I said, now are you going to become a frog or an earthworm? Use your brains. That's the problem. You see, with all intelligence, when it comes to their evolution, to the living process, they just don't want brains. Whatever these gurus tell them, they are willing to do it and do whatever they like. Like another guru is there who brings out diamonds, this, that, from the air and gives. It's all jugglery. It's absolutely jugglery. Now what I'm saying, what is the interest of God in diamonds? What is His interest? Why will He give you diamonds? You see, diamonds you can always go and buy from somewhere. But people don't think, you know, He is very popular. He is very popular with affluent people. Why should they ask for diamonds? I can understand Indians, but He's not bothered about Indians so much. But He gave a diamond ring to a gentleman who was a very, very rich man. So I said, why did He give you a diamond ring? He should have given it to your driver. And if he's such a diamond ring fellow, why doesn't he solve our problems in India, poverty completely? So this is what one has to think openly, with open mind, and you can save all these people from these cults and sects. Now the best part of it, that I am also called as a sect. That's the best part of it. From the year 1970, I'm the lone person who's been fighting and fighting these saving people who have suffered from it, and the person who has been telling everyone about them, their nature, what they have been, how they practice this, how they have managed you, what has happened to you, everything. Despite that, the shallowness of, or the naivety, we can say, of the Western people, now they call me also a sect. Now this is the limit. I said now to call me as a sect. It would be something like calling Christ as Hitler. I mean, I can't understand how these two things can go together. Who's fighting them lonely, all these things. So this is what it is, and I'm very happy that you have given your precious time today. I'll listen to it. Now, I would like to have a workshop, because I know it will work out very fast with Jungians, because it has worked out always. All those Jungians I've met have been wonderful people, because they are not so one-sided as the Freudians are, because you see, Freudian reduced us to a sex point. Absolutely, are we sex points now? I mean, this is too much, very ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't behove anyone to say that about that you are nothing but a sex point. But we live without a sex also, so are we not living? Are we not existing? I can't understand how people accepted Freud so much. At least Jung at that time could see this point clearly, that it is not something that has to do with one human being. It's a collective, and this is a happening that is collective. You'll be surprised that people, when they get realization, they can be in thousands. In India, in thousands they get realization, in thousands. And also should happen here in America if our chakras are all right. because the chakras here are going hayward. I must tell you, the vibrations here are not good, because you have witchcraft, you have all the gurus settled down in America. Imagine how they felt so attractive. All of them horrible people are down here, and one better than the other. And I don't know how they have been able to manage your intelligence. What has happened to your brains? I can't understand how they have dominated that one fellow. Just he wants you to learn flying. Why not ask him to fly himself? Put him on that Pisa, what you call that leaning tower of Pisa, and let him fall down, and let's see if he can fly. What I'm saying, why not use your brains for these people? That's what it is. That's how you are going to fight them out. But what happens when they suffer? Like this Muktananda, somebody asked me, why is he a dangerous man? Somebody asked me a question. This one of the questions is there. Before I came here, there was a lady sitting who has been to Muktana. He is not only dangerous, but he's sinister fellow. Absolutely sinister. And do you know, his children, so-called, they are his own children, 2 of them, and are now fighting for the diamonds that he has created out of the stupid people here. And the diamonds are worth 6,000, I don't understand the money part, 6,000, kitna? 6,000 kitna? Kitya Modi? Something like that. You see, I don't understand million, billion, something like that. She is made out of you people here, all these diamonds. What is the interest of a divine person in diamonds? What can you give? This is what one should understand. That you cannot understand that you can get your knowledge without paying for it. You must accept. It's the ego of money. It's the ego of money. Cut it out. You have to humble down yourself. If you humble down, then it's yours. It's there. It's just in it. There's a saying that whenever I want to see my God, I have to just bend my head towards my heart. That's all. That's what. It's so simple. It's very simple. You have to humble down. That money cannot purchase God. Because all religions are based on that. Everybody with the Pope is having a big, what you call that, hat, donkey hat on the head with all the diamonds in it. And while Christ, what a crown he had. What a crown he had. Think of it. And now like a pop star, he's waving to all the people, creating problems for these Polish people, and a political stunt he's creating. Why don't you think about this? All these things that condition people and making money out of it, and seminars and this and that. I really am surprised. Where are you lost? What are you doing? Why don't you come to reality that the spirit is within? It is such a simple thing, and that Kundalini is your own mother. She has only that's you. And she's so anxious to give you realization, so very anxious that it will just work in a split of a second. So why? Why go to these false things and false ideas and false conditioning, having big seminars and big things? There's no need at all. Actually, for me, it's not necessary even to talk. But without talking, who will come to Sahaja Yoga? Nobody. So I have to talk. I've talked and talked and talked. So much talked you can't imagine. I have got about at least 1,000 lectures in London, and they all feel that way. I don't know, but I wish I could stop now talking. The other day, somebody was talking, and I was so happy that that person can talk very well. I said, now I retired from talking, I will just do the raising of the Kundalini. You better see to the talking. And I'm quite happy. She also said in a quite good way, whatever it is, you people all enjoyed it. So maybe that some of you might come up as great speakers in Sahaja Yoga, and you might be able to relieve me of this too much talking. Thank you very much. May God bless you. Now, but it should not be. It need not be aggressive with me. There's no need to be aggressive. There's no political stunt going on. It's just, I want you to get your realization is a simple offer. So for that, you need not hit me with a Bible, all right? Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
When I first learned, excuse me?
You would like
Little
to
loud.
hear you.
When I first learned about Kundalini, a basic learning of it many years ago, part of what I understood was that the Kundalini you talked about raising it spontaneously.
Yeah.
And what I had understood, you must always have a master to help you raise it, that somewhere it isn't safe, I mean, psychologically or emotionally, to raise it yourself, that you need the master to guide you.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask about
Yes.
raising of it spontaneously.
She's asking me if that she's read that you have to have a master. No doubt, you have to have a master, no doubt. Meaning the person who is an enlightened soul, a person who is a realized soul can only do. I wish you knew how to, could have done it himself. So you have to have a master who is called as a Satguru, the one who has achieved the truth and who is a master. Now, I'm not a master, thank God. I'm not a master at all, I'm a mother. And mother is always a master in a way. So that's what it is. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm too soft to be a master, I think, because I cannot be hard. But masters are horribly hard. I would like to tell you about a master. There was a great realized soul living in a forest on top of a mountain which is not easy to climb up. Near Kolhapur, he is known as Gagan Bawda. Gagan Bawda is the name of the mountain. So he sent some people to me saying that mother has come, so why do you want to bother me? So I went down to see him there, and very difficult to climb, and I went down. See. And of course, he had a power to control the rain. So that day it started raining very heavily, very heavily. So when I went up, so I got completely drenched, and he was so angry like this. He was moving his head up and down, and he said, and then he came to me and said, Mother, why was it raining so much and you controlled the rain and you allowed the rain to drench my mother like this, and this is it to kill my ego? I said, no, that's not the point. Think tenacity, and you are a sannyasi. And normally I would not take anything from a sannyasi because I am a householder. But you have bought a sari for me. So unless and until my sari gets drenched, how will I wear the sari you have bought? The whole thing became such a poetry, you see. He forgot his temper, everything. And he said, yes, Mother, how do you know I bought a sari? I said, I know. In love, you know everything. And that's how he gave me the sari and to wear. But then he told me, anybody who troubles you, better send him over to me. So I said, all right, if anybody troubles me, I will send him over. So a gentleman was very torturesome, you see, overlearned, this, that, he used to eat my head morning till evening. So I said, now what to do? I said, all right, you go and see the master, this one is a Gagan. He never meets anyone. So this fellow felt so flattered that he's called me there and I will meet the great master and all that. So he reached him. Next time, about a month later, what I find, I am in a meeting and this fellow is brought with broken legs around his neck and dangling like that, you see. So chilly tears came into my eyes. I said, what has happened? What has happened to you? What did he do to you? He said, Mother, never send me to that guru. I said, what happened? He said, I didn't say anything. I just said one thing to him against you. I said, what did you say against me? So I said that this mother, you see, has no discretion. She wants to give realization to everyone, and she makes everyone equal leveled and all that. And I said some things like that. Then what happened? So this guru has got broken, you see, his legs were broken by other people, because anybody who's realized, I told you, they must break your nose or they can break your legs or something like that. So his legs are broken. So he goes on a tiger. You see, there's a tiger with him. So this tiger came. He said that, all right, now you sleep here tonight and tomorrow you go down because it's very late. So I was sleeping and a tiger came and it threw me in a khud. I fell down about 14, 15 feet down and I broke my legs. So I said then, after 3-4 days, I was lying there calling for people. He poured some, he brought some bread tied to a rope and he put it down and said, now eat and lie down there. And now if you say anything against Mother, I'm going to put you right. Then 3-4 days, he did like this. After that, he brought him out and he said, now you put your legs around your neck, go to Mother, she'll cure you. I'm not going to cure you. If you say a word against Mother, I'm going to break your hands now. So I said, why should you do this? Why did you do like this? I asked him, I said, why did you do? He said, to the donkeys, you must give the treatment of the donkeys. And to the cruel people, you must deal with them as they are. I am not a mother. But I cured the fellow and I was really very sorry. So it's a fact, you know, they are very hard taskmasters. They are not here for in the market or anything. They are sitting somewhere. I asked one fellow who was in Calicut, and I told him that why don't you go and see some New York people? You see, I won't be able to go this year. Why don't you go and see them, because I have not been there from 1973. He came here 3 days, he stayed and ran back. He said, I cannot manage, these people are absolutely no good for realization. He ran back. So that's what it is. So you have to have a master. But to get a master rather difficult, better get a mother.
But then you're saying, when you say spontaneous, then you cannot do it.
Spontaneous in the sense, yes. Spontaneous in the sense that, you see, a person who is like that has got the power. See, like the Mother Earth. See, now the Mother Earth has the power to sprout a seed. So what happens when you put the seed in the Mother Earth, by her power, the seed sprouts. So the power in that person, of that love, spontaneously invites the Kundalini, and it works. Then when you become the Sajogini, I mean, if you become the realized soul, and if you know the deftness, yoga also means deftness. It's the expertise. If you become that, you can. Now this Dr. Warren is sitting here. I must tell you about him. Not the whole story, but little bit if you know. He came to me from Australia, and very aggressive, I must say, real aggressive fellow. And he and his friend were extremely aggressive on me. Doesn't matter. But I was just playing with them. And I said, all right, you come along with me to Pune. And there was a big fight between the people, and they said, these people are like this, and all those things happened. But later on, they got their realization, they settled down. And then they went back, 2 of them. And now Australia is completely done by them. I mean, I don't know how many thousand realizations they have given. That's what it is. But in the beginning, no guru would have stood them. They would have all been hanged. I'm sure, and flogged nicely, because they're very aggressive with me. Because for nothing at all they were aggressive. But I knew why it was. Because, you know, it is so simple. It is so simple that if you tell somebody that you can't do anything about it, let me do it, they don't like it. They don't like it. But supposing you are not, you are drowning yourself, and a swimmer comes to rescue, and they say, now you keep quiet, I'll take you out. It's just like that. But when you come to can learn it and save others also, but that time the ego can come up, that I will also try to help this swimmer. It's like that. But this is not the play of the ego. So one should not fight the ego at all, because if you try to play with the ego, then there will be a problem for it.
Mataji, once the Kundalini rises, why does it not stay? And what is the difference between that state, realization, and enlightenment?
You see, the awakening of the Kundalini is, we can call it like a sprouting of the primule of a seed, like a little seedling. You see, it develops, all right. Then you have to look after it. For some time, you have to look after it. You have to know how to keep it up there. See, if you know the method how to keep it up there, it's not very difficult. Then you try to raise it again and again. But what happens when the Kundalini rises, you see? With some people, once it rises, then it falls down. But not with everyone, because all these centers represent your emotional, mental, and physical problems, you see. So once the Kundalini goes, because supposing I am sitting before you, and if I raise your Kundalini, then in that force it might just come out like that fast. But then it goes back again to look after those centers and to nourish them and this. But if you know how to accelerate and how to control and how to take it up again, you are quite all right. You can do it. That's how it works. Because, you see, after all, we must know we have committed some mistakes. But don't feel guilty. That's the biggest mistake, is to feel guilty. That's one thing, one condition, that you should not feel guilty. If you feel guilty, I cannot raise your kingdom.
And then what's the difference between that and enlightenment? You know, people talk about enlightenment, and I assume that when you get to an enlightened state, you just kind of remain in that state.
Enlightened means, in that state, that you start, like I would say, we are much more enlightened than animals. How? that supposing an animal has to go through a dirty place, it can walk through, it cannot feel the smell of the thing, the dirt and filth, while we can feel it more. In the same way, when you are enlightened, what happens that the whole thing, the truth becomes a part and parcel of it. For example, you are sitting down here now, supposing you are an atheist. I mean, I get all kinds of people, atheists. I'll say, all right, now you ask a question. You are like a computer. You become connected like a computer. You ask a question. Is there God? Immediately, tremendous vibrations will start. But supposing you ask about some false guru. Is this a real guru? And you might even get blisters. Because these fingers that are there, 5, 6, and 7, they become enlightened. The chakras become enlightened. You start feeling others. This is the beginning of enlightenment. But then it's so that the whole knowledge becomes real. You start seeing the knowledge within yourself. Like the other day I was going in a village on a bullock cart, and the man who was driving the bullock cart was a realized soul. When I started talking to him, I was amazed, like Kabira himself coming down. I said, now who is this prophet talking to? Complete enlightenment. In India, none of the saints have been to any university. Even Moses never went to any university, or Christ never went to any university either. He didn't write any thesis or anything. It's the knowledge. You become the knowledge itself. So first you become the knowledge, you become the truth, and your attention gets enlightened. Means wherever you put the attention, you can find out what's happening. I mean, you become like a knower of the system, of the complete telecommunication and complete computer system of the whole. In short, but I mean, I've given many lectures on this. You can have a look, which is called Utambara Pragya and all that. I mean, it's such a big subject, you can see.
You have spoken about the fact that the parasympathetic system can be controlled, and under those circumstances, disease can be controlled. This entire concept of speaking appears to me like a different language than when you speak about Kundalini.
Yes.
But it seems to me, I'm sorry to continue.
No, it's all right.
I apologize
It's all right,
for that.
please.
And it seems to me that you have tried within yourself, by studying these two languages, to find a connection between the two.
Yes.
And it may be more adequate to our way of psychological approach to the psyche to learn from you the bridge between those two.
Yes, perfectly. You all said the correct things, sir. Very true. You see, I did my medicine for the same language, because first people I confronted were doctors in my lifetime. I didn't meet, in India we didn't have psychologists, much psychologists. It was a child science, they used to say, when I was young. I'm 60 years now, so you can imagine in my childhood what I found were doctors. And what I found about doctors was that they were like blind people probing into things. So first thing I told my father, I must learn language of the doctors. I must know what is their vocabulary. It's because God doesn't have the same vocabulary. I didn't have this vocabulary, this I'm talking to you. And also for your information, also psychology and all that, I never studied. I must confess, I'm very sorry, I never studied. I mean, I did only 2 years of medicine just to know what doctors call it. I mean, I'm not even a graduate, that way I should say. And the first half of my life was spent in working out the freedom of it. That was very important, you see. Without getting the freedom for that country, we could not have said anything about it. So that was the first half, where my father, mother, everybody was very much involved. I stayed with Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, when I was 7 years of age, and sort of we had a big rapport between ourselves about things. But later on, when it was all over, the whole emergency was over, then I diverted my attention to this work of spiritual, I should say spiritual manifestation, talking about it. Before that, I thought that first we should be free country, otherwise one cannot talk. First of all, we must have freedom to talk, because you see, we were not allowed to talk in those days. So I started my work after that, working it out, and I knew all these things from my childhood. I must confess that I knew all these things, but my father told me, you have to do two things. First of all, you have to work out a method by which you can achieve collectively self-realization. That's one point he said, which was very sensible. Because he said that one person, if you self-realize, or if you give to 2 persons self-realization, it will be all wasted. You have to find out a method by which a collective self-realization can be achieved. And I knew this also, that I am for this purpose here. But he supported me, and he's the one who taught me what was the problem with human beings, why why their behavior was like this or that. And he is the one who actually say, in a way, that he was my guru, in the sense that he introduced me to human beings. I didn't understand why human beings are so complicated. It is he who told me the complication. But in my own meditative way, I tried to find out the permutations and combinations of human behavior in meditative way. That's a different style. That's not like going into mental project, but through meditation, through collective consciousness, you can enter into anybody and find out what's the problem that person has. And then that's how you can study the different permutations and combinations of persons. This is the thing. And then I classified them, I would say, in a way that this can work out this way, this can work out that way. And then I integrated them, because this is not analysis, it's a synthesis. So then I tried to make it a synthesis of all these permutations and combinations, and how Kundalini in any kind of a crowd can be brought. That was the problem I had. And in 1970, you see, I went to all these horrible gurus, everyone, to find out what these people are up to, because I knew these people will be hit by them, will come to me. So I went to this Muktana and then all these people, just to talk to them and find out what they were up to. And I tried to find out about it, because I wanted to have a full knowledge about the problems of human beings on different levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And once I found it out, I wove it in such a way, in my own way, which I do not know how to say, but in my own way, that I should be able to raise the Kundalini. Now the second problem which my father said, that you have to talk to people. Now you can't talk like Christ. I really say to you, your finger will be cut, he said. You cannot talk like him. You cannot talk like Moses. You cannot talk like these people. You have to talk in a way that they will understand what you're talking. So you have to talk to doctors. Then you must do something about medicine. Talk to them, what they have to say about this Kundalini, Ida, Pingla, and all this stuff. Then he said you have to talk to politicians. I said, of course, I have to talk to politicians. So now I can talk to politicians quite all right. Because whatever politicians are saying now, say for communism, and they say capitalism, big problem. But they are neither capitalists nor communists. How? I am a real capitalist because I have all the powers, and I am the greatest communist because I have a share. They have neither power, so what are they going to share? So it's all artificial, materialistic, nonsensical. It's not going to give them joy. So that's how I also learned about politics, because he said you have to talk to politicians, headaches, politicians, doctors, and all these people. And then talking to them means I have to learn the language, as you said, sir. It's true, I have to learn the languages. And I studied for 2 years, medicine, all waste of time. I think a lot of nonsensical things they taught, but I did get to the point that what I have to talk to. And that's how my study of human beings started. And I think I achieved it by the year 1970, on the 5th of May. Let me try if it works out. And I did it. I knew how to open it. And that's how it worked. And when I found it, I felt a torrential rain of compassion and things just filling me up completely. It's just enamored by it. And that is really my, I would say, my human realization. So that's what I felt. I've become really human because I know them so well. They're so close to me now. I know them every bit. And that's what it happened. So what you said is correct, sir. Because I tried to learn all these things very well. But I'm not so good at psychology still. And I would like to learn some terminology from you people, if you can teach me, because I'll have to talk to psychologists.
It might be equally important for us to learn what you say when you speak about the rising, the Kundalini, because I'm sure that a good part of us here tonight are here for that very purpose. And it is very important for us to know how within ourselves we can discover the rising of the Kundalini through the chakras. Because it seems to be your opinion that we can recognize that within ourselves.
Of course.
If I understood you properly, you even that every one of us, the possibility, the chance, the blessing, if I may say, to do that. And that apparently can be done in your language, because we do not need the language of psychology to understand your language about the Kundalini, and maybe you don't need it either.
So really kind to me. It's such an encouraging thing to hear from such a learned person like you. And sir, I assure you that it is within you and within your reach, and this is the time, the real blossom time, that you all have to have it. Absolutely. Jung has done it, he has made a stage for you, but you are on the stage and you have to have it. I'm so much encouraged, and I'm so thankful to you for taking such a kind view of the whole thing, and that shows that you're very concerned about it, and it's such a great thing, because the emancipation of human beings only rests on your transformation. Unless and until they are transformed, they cannot be helped. And such a great assurance from you really is so joy. Thank you very much, sir. Really kind. Thank you.